Why do 99% of Americans never get rich? Well, to be completely honest, it's because they were trained not to think, not to build, not to grow, but to obey. And basically it goes like this. You wake up, you clock in, you sit under fluorescent lighting for 8 hours, and then you thank your boss for the opportunity to give away the best years of your life. That's not freedom. That's financial hypnosis. The system doesn't want you rich. It wants you comfortable enough to keep showing up, but broke enough that you can't afford to leave. Welcome to the 9-to-5 trap, where dreams go to die quietly between coffee breaks. Now let's break down exactly how it happens step by step, and how you can finally escape it. 1. The system was never built for you to win. All right, let's start here, because this is where most people's American dream literally gets hijacked. From the moment you could walk, you were told, go to school, get good grades, get a safe job. Safe job? You mean the kind where your income is controlled by someone else's mood and the economy's blood pressure? You're not taught how to create money, only how to trade your time for it. And that's the biggest scam of all. The entire system, from schools to corporate ladders, was designed during the Industrial Revolution to create obedient workers, not independent thinkers. They didn't want entrepreneurs. They wanted employees who'd say, yes, sir, 2-week vacation is fine. I didn't need a life anyway. The result? You spend your 20s chasing a degree you can't afford, your 30s paying off debt you can't escape, and your 40s trying to convince yourself that your 401k is your golden ticket, when it's really just a slow bleed of your best earning years. And here's the plot twist. The rich don't follow this path. They build the system that everyone else works inside of. So, if the system is rigged, how do 99% of people still fall for it? Because they confuse income with wealth. And that's the trap we're talking about next. 2. The high income lie. Seriously, most people think the solution to being broke is to earn more money. So they chase promotions, overtime, side hustles, anything that adds a few more dollars to the paycheck. But here's the punchline. The more you earn, the more you spend. Lifestyle inflation, that's the name of the disease. You start making $60,000, and suddenly your Honda isn't good enough. You hit $100,000, and now you deserve a luxury apartment and a Tesla you can't afford to charge. And just like that, you're still broke, just at a higher level. The truth is, income doesn't make you rich. Assets do. Wealth isn't measured by how much money you make. It's measured by how long you could live if you stopped working today. The 9-to-5 trap convinces you that a good salary means security. But security is an illusion when your entire lifestyle depends on you waking up to an alarm clock you hate. You're not financially free. You're financially fragile. Now, I've mentioned this stat in one of our previous videos, but it's a statistic that everyone should know. The average American household makes about $75,000 a year and still lives paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because that $75,000 is already spoken for. Taxes, rent, car payments, student loans, groceries, subscriptions, and the occasional treat-yourself weekend that turns into a $400 regret. You're not earning money, you're renting your lifestyle. The rich, they earn money once and make it work for them forever. They don't spend money to look rich. They use money to buy time, and that's what actually creates freedom. So if income doesn't make you rich, what does? Let's talk about what the rich do differently, because it's not about working harder. It's about escaping the wage hamster wheel entirely. 3. The 9-to-5 was built to drain you, not develop you. Let me be honest for a minute, because let's face it, the 9-to-5 isn't evil. It's just outdated. It was built for a world that doesn't exist anymore, a world where loyalty to a company meant something. But today, you're replaceable before you even finish your onboarding packet. The corporate game works like this. You sell your time. They decide what it's worth. They keep the profit your time creates. And the longer you play, the harder it is to leave, because comfort is addictive. See, the trap isn't your boss. It's the psychology that keeps you there. Every paycheck reinforces the illusion of safety. I'm doing okay. I'm making money. But in reality, you're just on a treadmill, burning energy, staying in place, and calling it progress. By the time most people realize they're trapped, they've built a lifestyle so dependent on that bi-weekly deposit that freedom feels dangerous. And that's the real tragedy. We've built a culture where stability is praised more than independence. Here, let me try and give you the perfect analogy. You're like a lion born in a zoo. You get fed every day. You're comfortable. But if they opened the cage door tomorrow, would you even know how to hunt? Most wouldn't. That's why 99% of Americans stay stuck. Because the comfort of predictability feels safer than the chaos of opportunity. By the way, if you're still struggling with your finances, don't stress. Go back and watch our financial freedom playlist to help you go from broke and middle class to financially untouchable. And as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel. But anyway, here's where the story flips. Because once you understand this next part, you'll never look at your paycheck the same way again. Let's talk about the money equation. The rich understand that the 9-to-5 never teaches you. 4. The time for money trap. Look, there's a reason it's called a rat race, because no matter how fast you run, you're still in the cage. Trading time for money feels normal because that's how everyone starts, but it's also the reason most people never escape mediocrity. Think about it. There's a hard limit on how much time you can sell. Even if you work 100 hours a week, you still only have 168 in total. Meanwhile, your bills don't stop, your taxes don't pause, and inflation doesn't care. You can't scale time, but you can scale assets. That's why the rich play a different game. They buy or build things that make money without them being there. Stocks, real estate, online businesses, intellectual property. They own systems, not schedules. While the middle class is bragging about working overtime, the wealthy are bragging about making money while they sleep. Well, here's the reality check. If you stop working today, how long could you survive before panic sets in? If the answer is a few weeks, you're not free. You're a well-paid prisoner. Financial freedom isn't about having millions in the bank. It's about decoupling your income from your time. And that brings us to the most dangerous illusion of all, the one that keeps millions trapped forever. It's the lie that your job will eventually make you rich. Spoiler, it won't. Let's talk about why next. 5. The promotion trap. Why climbing the ladder is just a longer cage. Pay attention to what I'm about to say. Everyone in a 9-to-5 is told the same bedtime story. Work hard, be loyal, and one day you'll climb the ladder. But here's the secret no one mentions. The ladder is leaning against the wrong wall. You work extra hours, take on more responsibility, and stress yourself into an ulcer for a 3% raise that's instantly swallowed by inflation and taxes. Congratulations, you're still broke, just tired in a nicer suit. The promotion is the corporate version of a participation trophy. It makes you feel like you're progressing, even when you're not escaping. Because the truth is, the ladder never ends. Every time you climb one rung, the company moves the top up a little higher. You never arrive. You just get a new title and a more polite version of being underpaid. Here's a real-life example. You know that manager who drives a Tesla and seems successful? He's still paying off student loans, still stressed about mortgage payments, still chained to Slack notifications at 10 p.m. He's not free. He's just a well-decorated prisoner. Watch. Just imagine working your entire life to climb out of a hole, only to realize the ladder you've been climbing was inside the same hole the whole time. That's the 9-to-5 promotion system. It's not meant to set you free, it's meant to keep you hoping that freedom is just one more raise away. So if the corporate ladder is a scam, why do people still cling to it? Because the system runs on fear, not logic. And that fear keeps you obedient. Let's break that down. 6. The fear economy. How your paycheck controls you. Now let me address something real quick. You've probably heard the phrase job security. Well, in reality, it's income dependency disguised as safety. The system keeps you fearful. Fear of losing your job, fear of losing your insurance, fear of starting over, fear of not being responsible. And every fear keeps you locked inside the same cycle. That's why the average person will tolerate a boss they hate, a schedule they despise, and a paycheck that barely keeps them alive. Because the alternative feels scarier than the misery they already know. Seriously, you think your job gives you security, but the moment your boss sends that "can we talk" email, your stomach drops like you're on a roller coaster made of anxiety. That's not security. That's psychological leverage. The system dangles your livelihood over your head to keep you compliant. You don't rebel because you can't afford to, and that's how 99% stay stuck. They trade freedom for fear disguised as comfort. But here's where it gets even darker, because the system doesn't just use fear. It uses social conditioning to make sure you never even want to leave. 7. The social trap, the normal that keeps you broke. Here's the genius of the 9-to-5 system. They don't have to force you to stay. They just convince you that leaving is irresponsible. Think about it. If you tell people you want to quit your job to build a business, they'll say, that's risky. But working a job where your entire income depends on one person's approval, apparently that's safe. Society has rebranded mediocrity as maturity. We call it being realistic. We glorify working 40 years just to retire when you're too old to enjoy it. We celebrate people who buy liabilities with debt and judge people who take risks to buy freedom. You're not crazy for wanting out. You're just surrounded by people who've accepted the cage as normal. Think about it. Ever notice how people brag about being busy like it's a badge of honor? Oh, I've been working nonstop this week. That's not success, that's slavery with extra steps. The 9-to-5 world glorifies exhaustion. It teaches you to measure your worth by how much you sacrifice, sleep less, work more, smile through burnout. Because apparently, if you're miserable and productive, you're doing life right. But here's where the wealthy break away. And it's not because they work harder. It's because they understand a completely different rule book, one that flips this entire system upside down. Let's expose that next. 8. The rich don't work for money. They make money work for them. If the middle class trades time for money, the wealthy trade money for time. They don't clock in. They don't ask for permission to take vacations. They don't rely on a boss to approve their income. Why? Because they understand this golden rule. If your money isn't working while you're sleeping, you'll be working until you die. Instead of earning and spending, they earn and reinvest. They put money into assets that create cash flow. Real estate, businesses, stocks, royalties, content, products. Each dollar becomes an employee that never sleeps, never complains, and never takes PTO. That's how freedom compounds. While 99% of Americans are chasing paychecks, the top 1% are building systems that print them. Let me try and give you a comparison so you can clearly understand. Two people earn $80,000 a year. Person A spends it all on rent, cars, and treat-yourself moments. Person B lives on $50,000, invests the rest, and creates a passive income stream. 5 years later, Person A needs a raise. Person B doesn't need a job. Same income. Different mindset. Completely different destiny. And speaking of mindset, this is where the real transformation happens. Because before you can change your income, you've got to change the way you see money itself. 9. The middle-class money mindset versus the wealth mindset. Let's get brutally honest here. Most people don't have a money problem. They have a mindset problem. The middle class sees money as something to spend. The rich see money as something to multiply. The middle class saves what's left after spending. The rich spend what's left after investing. See the difference? One group tries to use money to survive, the other uses money to build leverage. Think of it like this. If your money were soldiers, most people send theirs into battle unarmed, on bills, subscriptions, and liabilities. The rich train their soldiers, arm them with investments, and send them to conquer new territory. That's why they grow exponentially, not linearly. They understand compounding, not just in finance, but in decisions, habits, and time. And that's what makes the gap so wide. Not intelligence, not opportunity, but perspective. And that leads to the final and most uncomfortable truth about why 99% never get rich. It's not because they can't, it's because they won't. Let's close it out strong. 10. The real reason 99% never escape and how to flip it. Now let me give you a golden piece of advice. Most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they're comfortable. They settle for good enough. They tell themselves, I'll start when things calm down. But newsflash, things never calm down. There's always another bill, another distraction, another excuse, and before you know it, you've spent 40 years trading time for money, then retired with nothing but regrets and an arthritis prescription. Meanwhile, the 1% were never smarter. They were just uncomfortable enough to change. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait for the right moment. They started messy, learned fast, and built quietly. Because at the end of the day, wealth doesn't come from working harder. It comes from thinking differently. Now here's the step-by-step framework on how to escape the 9-to-5 trap from start to finish. Audit your income. Know where every dollar goes. Cut lifestyle inflation. If it doesn't make you freer, it's not worth it. Invest early and often. Index funds, real estate, digital products. Pick your vehicle. Build skills that pay you outside your job. Writing, marketing, coding, sales. Skills are freedom. Automate your money. Systems create discipline where motivation fails. Start something of your own. Even small, a side hustle, content, a service. The goal isn't perfection, it's momentum. Every step isn't about money, it's about ownership of your time, your choices, your future. So, why do 99% of Americans never get rich? Because they never question the system that keeps them poor. They think money equals freedom, but real freedom comes from control. Control of your time, your energy, your decisions. The rich don't escape the 9-to-5 by accident. They escape because they realize, if I don't build my own dream, someone will hire me to build theirs. Now, if this hit you hard, good. That means you're waking up. Comment the words, "I will be rich," to instantly affirm this lifestyle. Because the next step isn't about quitting your job tomorrow. It's about learning how to quietly escape while you're still inside the system. Because if you don't, someone else is profiting from your 9-to-5 right now. And that's exactly what I'll show you in my next video. How to escape the 9-to-5 trap, step-by-step plan to freedom. Just click the video on the screen now, and let's build your exit strategy.